Picture this. You're at a party or a festival, the music's pumping, the lights are wild, you're vibing, and someone hands you a tab of acid or a few magic mushrooms. And whether it is pre planned or completely on the fly, you say yes, and within no time, you're laughing, you're dancing, the visuals kick in, you're having a great time, and somewhere between the laser beams and the cosmic giggles, you might think to yourself or say to someone else that you're with, this trip is amazing. And for sure, these experiences can be amazing. But it's not always the case, which I'm sure many of you know experientially. And it's important to offer some more nuance and context to expand upon these kinds of conversations so we can deepen our collective understanding of them. Because here's the thing, psychedelics aren't just fireworks for the mind. They're not just about tripping. They are not just recreational drugs. And a lot of what is amplified and focused on within, let's say, modern recreational psychedelic culture are the visuals, the highs, the novelty, the fun. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but in fixating on these qualities and these qualities alone, we might miss more of the depth and the potential of what these experiences can actually catalyze. Now, I must admit, and you might suspect this if you are familiar with my work and my path, and that is that I haven't consumed any psychedelic substances at parties or festivals or casual recreational nights out for well over a decade. And I mean, call me boring, but the party, festival, casual recreational night out scene in general, it's not for me. It's not my vibe. But in saying that, I don't necessarily have anything against recreational psychedelic culture. I think that so long as you're not intentionally harming any other people, you should have the right to explore the inner sanctum of your own consciousness in whichever manner you choose. So I'm certainly not here to demonize recreational use or recreational culture. But I do think that we have a ways to go to more fully expand into a more rich and meaningful understanding of psychedelics. Because if we are to look at that word, psychedelic, coined by Humphrey Osmond in 1956, and psychedelic meaning mind manifesting, we often think about mind being synonymous with the brain, with cognition, thoughts, perceptions, hallucinations, imagination. However, that is not the full picture. Not only do we have a brain mind, but we have a gut mind, a heart mind, an entire body mind. Someone like Dan Siegel, in his book titled Mind, he defines mind as not a thing located in the brain, but as an emergent process of energy and information flow. I have a couple of chapters on this in my Visionary Medicines online program. So if you're vibing what you're hearing, you can go check that out. I'll put a link in the show notes of this episode. And when it comes to mind, from this expanded perspective, it's not something that's just contained within our skulls, but it exists wherever patterns of energy and information flow occur. So, starting small and expanding out, we can find mind within greater and greater levels of complexity in many different systems. When it comes to the heart mind, for example, the heart contains its own complex neural networks, often called the heart brain, which is capable of independent processing and decision making and intelligence, which often operates through feeling and intuition rather than logical analysis. The gut mind, sometimes called our second brain, or scientifically speaking, the enteric nervous system, the brain in our gut. This apparently contains more neurons than our spinal cord and operates in ways which are significantly independent from the brain. This is where we're talking about our gut feelings or gut instincts. The body as a whole represents another form of mind, somatic intelligence, which knows things, and can process information in ways that the logical mind cannot do or cannot access directly. The body mind contains emotional memory, maintains complex physiological balance, and processes. It processes information through sensation and movement. Even at the tiny microscopic cellular level, we have cellular mind, where cells demonstrate complex decision making abilities, communicating with each other, organizing into sophisticated systems, seemingly without any kind of central control. We have the minds of communities, the minds of forests, the minds of different species, and on and on and on it goes. Greater levels of complexity within all of these different systems. So, really, we're talking about mind here in terms of a form of awareness or mind as consciousness. And when we do consider mind from that viewpoint, then the words psychedelic and mind manifesting starts to offer a more rich understanding of the depth that these substances can open us up to. Because psychedelics don't just open up your head, they can open up your entire field, your whole field of being. And it's here that recreational psychedelic culture often lacks this broader picture, that these experiences are not only psychological, but deeply somatic experiences, emotional experiences, energetic experiences. They not only have the capacity to alter brain chemistry with that rocket ship fireworks extravaganza, but they can help us as humans to access the many layers of our humanness for healing, empowerment, awakening, transformation, all the way through our mental, emotional, physical, energetic, etheric, karmic, spiritual layers of existence. To use the word tripping to contextualize or sum up these experiences, I would say that it doesn't do it justice. This phrasing might not contain the appropriate respect or reverence that these experiences should deserve, because it's not always fun and games. Psychosis, dark nights of the soul, spiritual emergency, re traumatization, destabilization, all of these are, truthfully, potential outcomes, which is why I often say that great integration starts with great preparation. When we appropriately contextualize these experiences and we prepare ourselves in a good way, and we start to feel more adequately, appropriately resourced to step into what can be some of the most intense and powerful states of consciousness that we might ever experience, then there's greater potential for these journeys to actually be healing rather than more harming. Even the phrase itself, bad trip, seems to be somewhat rooted in recreational psychedelic culture, that you're just tripping, and if it's not pleasant, it's bad. That phrase, bad trip, it often doesn't leave much room for deeper inquiry, questioning, reflecting as to why these experiences were so challenging or so painful. They can just often end with a full stop. But with appropriate reframes and the right context, even the most challenging or uncomfortable or disturbing or harrowing experiences can offer deeper understandings, valuable lessons. And if one was to remain actively open to these experiences containing more depth, more nuance, and look for the teachings, the lessons, the growth opportunities, no matter how difficult these experiences may be, it might help to better alchemize what might initially be called a bad trip into something with much more meaning. Many challenging experiences, or what some people refer to as bad trips, can occur because of inappropriate environments or lack of proper support. A medicine journey or a psychedelic journey taken at a festival or a party will naturally have different risks and challenges than one held in a ceremonial container with experienced support. And the impact of setting on our experience, it can't be overstated. I mean, you could consider how the different medicines or different psychedelics might be experienced in, as I mentioned, a party setting versus a ceremonial container, a loud, chaotic environment versus a quiet, held space, a natural setting within nature versus a busy urban environment, being in an environment in which you feel familiar and comfortable versus unfamiliar or uncomfortable surroundings, journeying alone without any safety protocols versus with skilled support. What often gets labeled as a bad trip might actually be the medicine, the psychedelics, showing you exactly what needs attention in your life, revealing your attachments, your fears, your lack of boundaries, lack of respect, so on and so forth. And by shifting your perspective from avoiding challenges to embracing learning opportunities, you can transform these potential difficulties into very real catalysts for personal growth and healing. Again, I take people on this entire journey arc of appropriate preparation, exploration, and integration through my program, Visionary Medicines. It is for both beginners on the path and also seasoned practitioners who want to level up their frameworks and their knowledge to be able to better assist others on these medicine pathways. And if you've been around for a while, you might remember that I actually created the very first iteration of this program about a decade ago, which was initially called Sacred Psychedelics. And it was called that intentionally to try and bridge the gap between these different reference points of the sacred medicine culture and of the more recreational or brain mind exploring psychedelic culture. However, with this latest program, which required a massive update, upgrade, entirely new iteration, I decided to name it Visionary Medicines because it truly feels to me that many of these sacraments are heart, soul, spirit medicines. And they ought to be approached as the powerful medicines that they are, with reverence and respect and humility. To me, personally, these aren't just substances for tripping. They're teachers, they're allies, they're sacraments for soul work. And they do deserve reverence, not just some kind of recreational, haphazard approach. And that could be a hot take on the current state of recreational or festival psychedelic culture. But I also think that it's a necessary 2 cents to be dropping into the conversation. So if you do find yourself on this path or you're curious about it, here are some questions that I invite you to sit with. Are you approaching psychedelics as entertainment or escape, or as medicine, as an initiation into something deeper? How can you deepen your conversation with these medicines rather than just chasing or wanting or grasping at the visuals? What would it mean if the real work more fully begins after the actual experience ends? Because oftentimes there's a lot of truth in that. So, this isn't a rant against recreational use. It is a call, an invitation toward more reverence, an invitation to listen deeper and to honor the full or a fuller spectrum of what these medicines, these substances, psychedelics are here to offer. It's also to help normalize these types of conversations so we can start to lay down these shackles from all the stigma and misconceptions and demonization that a lot of people still have towards this entire world that have been in place for a long, long time. Because there's so much more to all of this than just getting high. You could say that it's about getting whole. And if we treat these substances, psychedelics, as just mere party favors, we are lacking so much context. And instead, if we meet them with the reverence and the respect and the humility, they might just reveal more of the unique and sacred blueprint of who we really are, who it is that we're here to become, what it is that we're here to do, and how we can best show up and help our people, help our earth in a good way. So here's a little prayer that we can return from these experiences, not just with visions, but with a greater sense of clarity, with courage, with commitment to showing up, walking, talking, living differently, with intention, with reverence, in a good way, right relationship for ourselves, for our people. That's another episode of Birdsong with me, your host, Caiyuda. If you're still here and if you are interested in initiatory processes, you might be interested in our Spring 2025 Vision Quest. This one's not a plant medicine program. However, it is arguably equally as powerful. If visionary medicines are the rapid fire blast off into hyperspace and beyond, you could consider Vision Quest to be the slow burn, the wild simmering in different yet equally profound states of consciousness. The dates for this Vision Quest are October 4th till the 11th. Springtime dreaming, just after equinox, right on the full moon. A potent time to be questing up in the mountainside, right beside granite boulders and fresh mountain stream. It's going to be a good one, as they always are. Early birds are available until August 4th. So come and send me a message or an email if you want more info. And once again, if you are walking the path of visionary medicines and sacred psychedelics for healing, growth, empowerment, awakening, transformation, come and check out my comprehensive guide on exploring, integrating, and preparing for these shamanic medicine journeys. It is a multifaceted, multi-layered, multidisciplinary program with over 100 videos. It's a great resource for beginners and practitioners alike. All links are in the show notes. I'll leave you with it. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time.